as the scene shifts to Trunks, who is trying to reach Crysto City. The sky over the barren waste is a sickly orange, dust and smoke hanging like a curse. The air is so hot it distorts the horizon, turning the land into a hellscape straight out of a nightmare. Dust storms roar like dying beasts. High above, barely staying airborne, Trunks fights gravity, his battered body an afterimage of his once pristine Saiyan strength. His clothes hang in tatters, barely clinging to his form, his chest, arms, and legs all slashed with gashes, blood welling, staining what remains. Gray hair, matted with blood and dust, hangs over his forehead like a shroud. His eyes, once bright with Saiyan fire, are now heavy with exhaustion, pain etched deep into his expression. Trunks says to himself, "I must report what happened with me to father and mother." He stumbles, clipping the tips of mountains, his dark red-black aura erupts around them, oily corruption tendrils lashing like living shadows, flickering as if it's about to give out. Each breath is a battle. Then up ahead, smoke spirals in the distance, massive stone gateways half-shattered, outline barely visible through the haze. Crysto City gates alone, once proud, now rubble. The wind slows as he drops lower, gravity dragging him down. He falls, more than flies, landing near the broken remains of the city's once mighty gate, skidding through dust and rubble. Crysto's mighty walls, once designed to withstand the fury of gods, now lie in shattered pieces, like the bones of a fallen titan. In the distance, the sound of stone being dragged forth, a Saiyan soldier marches back and forth with a whip, shouting at a group of humans, their backs bent, muscles straining, hauling stones, rebuilding the gate under the scorching sun. Soldier in brutal, booming voice, whip cracking says, "Faster, vermin! Rebuild or we'll feed you to the hounds." Bloodshot eyes, cruel smirk. But his shout cuts off as something thuds nearby, dust exploding. He turns, eyes narrowing. And there, dragging himself forward, broken and bloody, limping, stands Trunks. The Saiyan soldier freezes for a second, eyes scanning the broken body, skepticism and curiosity warring in his gaze. Soldier sneering, stepping closer. "What the hell happened to you?" Runter says. "You look like a chewed-up piece of meat." Trunks barely lifts his head, eyes half-lidded, hair hanging over his brow, blood streaking down his face. His chest rises and falls with ragged breaths, but when he speaks, his voice, though raspy, is laced with a lethal menace, eyes flashing with a flicker of Saiyan fury. Trunks says in low voice, dangerous, a smirk curling despite the pain, "Watch your mouth, trash, or I'll bury you where you stand." He lifts a hand, trembling, points toward the ruined deke. "Now report," he says. "What happened here? Who did this?" The soldier's sneer falters, replaced by wary recognition. Trunks' aura barely there, flickering faintly, isn't as terrifying as it used to be, but the name rings a bell. The rumors. The legend. He gulps, throat bobbing, lowering his tone almost subconsciously. The soldier says in a low voice, "To know the details, but the word is." Lady Lia screams some name while the blast tore through the gates. He glances around, nervous, then whispers. They say, she screamed Bulla's name, like a demon. Trunks' eyes snap open wider, dilating, memory cutting through the haze. Pain, exhaustion, injury, none of it matters now. His thoughts spiral, calculation kicking in despite the blood loss. Trunks internal, muttering softly, lips barely moving. Bulla came this close. She's top-tier rival's mother and father, but she knows if she comes close enough, even her most trusted ally will turn against her. He pauses, voice growing darker. And if Lady Lia is here, that means, no, she must have something else up her sleeve. She would never attack Crysto City if she didn't have some kind of powerful backup. Even Vegeta, at his peak, struggled when he dared, and paid the ultimate price. He turns his gaze back to the soldier, eyes sharper now despite the exhaustion. Trunks says while raising his voice slightly, eyes narrowing. "Then tell me this. Are mother and father here?" The soldier shakes his head quickly, almost too eager to answer. The soldier answers, No, they left after the glorious day ceremony. They went back to their royal palace in Soba City. Trunks smirks, blood oozing from his lips, eyes gleaming with a dangerous idea. Trunks says, "So if Lady Lia is here, that means Lord Dulo is also here." The soldier's eyes widen, jaw tightening, fear spiking in his eyes. He reaches out, grabbing Trunks' arm, shaking him. The soldier says while hissing, eyes darting, "Lower your voice, idiot. You want both of us to be vaporized?" "Yes, he's here. Don't say his name again, not where anyone can hear us." Trunks inhales, sways, then steadies himself, eyes locking onto the broken gate, the workers, the distant smoke. His voice is low, resolute, the weight of command radiating from his battered frame. Trunks says while gritting teeth and forced himself to stand, "I need to report it now." He limps forward, leaving the soldier standing there, dumbfounded, staring at the broken Saiyan, at the blood, at the pain, at the name that just got whispered. The slaves look up stunned, eyes wide, watching the once powerful Trunks who once fought to protect them, limping like a dying warrior going back to his masters like a dog to report his findings. Hundreds of miles north, the Gelato region is a frozen wasteland, the sky blanketed in a howling blizzard. The air bites like knives, snow swirling in violent spirals, whipping against jagged mountain peaks that claw at the sky like ancient stone fingers. Blazing through the storm, Krillin's daughter Marron soars forward, her body lean and battle-hardened, mid-30s now, her ki steady, but her eyes blazing with urgency. Beside her, her mother Android 18 cuts through the wind like a blade, untouchable by the cold, her posture calm, features as sharp and timeless as ever. Just behind them, Tien, now in his mid-70s, floats steadily, his body grizzled, muscles hardened by years of war, his third eye glowing faintly, scanning the horizon like a targeting system. Tien, eyes scanning the whiteout peaks, say, voice low and tense, "Where could he be hiding?" Last seen fleeing this way, self-imprisoned in some kind of cave. Android 18, who is coolly scanning the cliffs, arms folded under her jacket, answers, "No clue." His intel was thin. Just that he's holed up, sealing himself away. No more, no less. For a moment, the blizzard roars around them, the wind almost drowning out the faint crackle of their ki. Then Marron suddenly snaps her gaze to the distant peaks, eyes widening with realization. Marron, pointing toward a jagged mountain range, says with voice sharp, "Look there, in those mountains. A massive cave. Do you feel any ki traces?" Tien's third eye narrows, locking onto the jagged maw of the cavern, while Android 18's eyes flick, scanning the dark opening, trying to catch the faintest echo of energy. For a second, there's nothing, just the storm, the wind, the endless white. Then, out of the storm, materializing as if the blizzard itself parted to reveal him, Dabura appears. The snow splits around his silhouette, winds curling away from his cape as it whips behind him. His stance is wide, grin demonic, eyes gleaming with cruel amusement. Dabura says with a demonic smirk spreading, arms relaxed, voice dripping with mockery, "Looking for someone." The group freezes, ki flaring in an instant, tension spiking through the air like a live wire. The howling wind, the blizzard, and the distant cave all fade to the background suddenly. Dabura is the only thing that matters. Marron steps forward, fists clenched, ki flaring slightly, just enough to signal defiance, not enough to lose control. She's tense, eyes locked on Dabura, more instinct than strategy. Marron says in a steady tone, "He's not going anywhere. Let me." Before she can finish, Android 18 grabs her shoulder. Her grip is calm but firm, unshakable, grounding Marron in that instant. Android 18's eyes never leave Dabura, never flicker, never waver, her focus is absolute. Android 18 answers firmly, "No. Our mission is to find Piccolo. You and Tien aren't ready for this guy. Keep moving." She turns fully to Dabura, stance relaxed yet coiled like a blade, limbs loose, posture almost casual, but there's a quelled power beneath the surface, as if the entire weight of the moment is compressed into a single motion waiting to be unleashed. "Dabura, your trail ends here. Krillin told me about your little chat. About everything you did. I'm going to make you regret it. Android 18 says. Marron and Tien both snap out of their shock, opening their mouths in protest, voices overlapping in instinctive defense. Android 18 doesn't even turn. Her voice cuts, precise and cold, without losing its edge, and says, "Move. Find Piccolo. That's the mission." Marron hesitates, eyes blazing, jaw tense, body trembling between duty and rage. Tien grips her arm gently but firmly, anchoring her, pulling her back from the confrontation. They vanish into the blizzard, twin streaks cutting through the white storm, flying toward the distant dark mouth of the cave, leaving the battlefield to Android 18 and Dabura. Dabura's sinister smile widens, tail flicking lazily behind him like a serpent testing the air. The storm bends around him, as if wary of his presence, and says, "Oh, yes. That happened decades ago. Still holding a grudge, you sweet little thing?" Android 18 says while her smirk deepens, cold, eyes narrowed with the sharpness of someone who's waited patiently for this moment. "Grudge? I'm just cashing an interest." Suddenly, 18 rockets forward, no flashy power-up, no aura scream, no theatrics. Just pure speed and surgical precision, a clean, calculated assault calibrated to exploit Dabura's overconfidence more than his strength. She closes the gap before Dabura can fully react, landing a blinding, 3-hit combo with flawless timing. A low kick cracks into his ribs, snapping him back a half step, his breath catching. An elbow to the jaw rattles his teeth, snapping his head to the side. A brutal palm heel strike to his chest sends him sliding back across the snow, boots carving deep grooves, sending a spray of white powder behind him. Dabura swings back, a wild, heavy backhand roaring through the air, but Android 18 is already underneath it, ducking with casual grace. She snaps a leg sweep that catches his balance, making him stumble, then follows through with a brutal knee to the stomach that doubles him over. He stumbles, lifting a hand to fire a key blast, but 18 is faster, gripping his wrist mid-charge, twisting his arm, and throwing him over her shoulder with a sharp motion. He crashes face first into the snow, the cold powder exploding outward, his head smacking into the ground instead of the air. Dabura launches himself into the air, trying to gain space, to control the field, to break her rhythm. 18 leaps after him, attacking like a whirlwind. Left hook. Right hook. Spinning back fist that knocks him sideways. A clean flying kick that sends him sprawling through the air like a meteor. As he begins to recover, regaining his balance in the air, 18 fires a crisp key blast point blank into his shoulder. The impact spins him through the sky like a comet, leaving a faint, smoky trail in the blizzard, his body battered by the force. Android 18's expression never changes, cold, calm, eyes almost amused, as if the entire fight is a simple exercise rather than a life and death clash. Every time Dabura tries to counter, she's a step ahead, dodging, weaving, striking, all with the same efficient, almost lazy movement. It's as if she's humbling him, allowing him to learn the weight of his past mistakes, rather than simply fighting for survival. For a brief moment, it looks like she's in complete control. Dabura ragdolled, his armor dented, blood starting to stain his skin, his body battered, and his pride visibly crackling. Dabura, panting, wiping blood from his lip, eyes narrowing, a darkening glint creeping into them. Okay, time to stop playing. Out of nowhere, he catches her punch, not with a block, not with a deflection, just a palm to fist impact midair, the bones cracking sharply. Dabura, smug, tightening his grip on her fist, and says, voice low and cool, "That's the end of the line. Your husband, wherever he is in the afterlife, he must miss you." He backhands her violently while her fist is still trapped in his palm, the force reverberating through the valley. A brutal punch square to her gut, knocking the wind out of her. Her eyes widen, lips parting, a spray of blood erupting from her mouth, splattering onto the snow. Then he lands a brutal rising knee to the side of her head, the crack echoing like breaking stone. The force lifts her off her feet and sends her flying backward through the air. She crashes hard into the snowy slope far below, Back first, an explosion of white powder blasting outward, the impact shaking the ridge. Blood drips steadily from her mouth and the fresh cut on her forehead, staining her face crimson. Her hair fans out around her, almost like a halo in the snow, bloody dark against the white. As she slowly pushes herself up, forcing her injured body, she lifts her head weakly, eyes widening, not in fear, but in realization. Before she can move, or even brace herself, Dabura shifts. His muscles swell grotesquely, veins bulging like blackened roots beneath the skin, his frame broadening, his silhouette towering over the jagged rocks. Two jagged demonic wings tear out of his back with a sickening crack, unfurling slowly, each feathered tip gleaming with shadowy edges, trailing dark mist. A pair of twisted horns grow from his skull, curling upward like a devil's crown, jagged points scraping the wind. His eyes sink into deep, crimson pits, glowing with malice, like legends fallen into a pit of fire. He crashes down next to her with a thundering crunch, the snow collapsing under his weight. Without a word, he grabs her by the hair, jerking her head up, the blood on her face smearing across the snow. A flaming energy orb gathers in his other hand, crackling with hellfire, the heat shimmering in the blizzard. Dabura grinning like a demon, tail coiling around her waist, cinching her closer and says, "Are you ready to finally join your husband?" Android 18 says while grinning weakly, blood dripping from the corners of her eyes, defiant even now. "Show me your worst, demon, but you better make it fast." Right then and there, the end of episode 4 of Dragon Ball Gotham on the Season 1 came to a close. Can Android 18 survive Dabura's upgraded demonic fury? Will Marron and Tien reach Piccolo in time to save the mission? And what war brews inside Crysto City with Lord Dulo and Lady Lia hunting Bulla? Comment your predictions. Will 18 win, or Dabura claims the afterlife? Like if you're Team Android 18, share to spread the chaos. And subscribe so you don't miss out on the next episode.